What's good, fam? Agent O here with another action figure review, and you'll have to forgive me because I am feeling a little bit under the weather. But today I have the S.H. Figuarts Avengers Infinity War Thor figure, and unfortunately this is a Tamashii Web Exclusive. I have very mixed feelings about Tamashii exclusives, but that's another video for another day. I couldn't wait to get this Thor figure because I have the first Thor that they did, and I've always hated it. I always thought that was the weakest figure in that first big wave of MCU figures that Figuarts released, and so I was waiting for them to do a new Thor figure so I could get it to replace the previous Thor, and this for the most part does it. As you can see from the box art, it's your standard design for these MCU toys. You got Chris Hemsworth on the front, nice little rendering there. You got the Tamashii seal of equality, so you know that this is not a bootleg. This is a legit figure by Bandai, by the S.H. Figuarts. And yeah, that's it for the box art that I'm going to talk about, because we're here for the figure and not the graphic design of the box. I know some people like that stuff, but I'm all about the figure. So let us jump into the review. And here we have Thor. And right off the bat, I think a lot of people are probably gonna complain about the monotone look of the figure. And that's because he had a monotone color, like color-wise, his design, his costume in the movie was pretty monotone. So, I mean, to me it looks pretty accurate to how he was depicted in the film. So I don't have a big, it's not a huge issue to me. I think what they did apply paint app wise works, and the way they have the glossy parts of the plastic to represent the metallic pieces of his costume work well. They definitely stand out from the matte finish that the rest of the costume has as well. So, and you have a lot of sculpted detail on the figure, like a lot of sculpted detail, and I think that also helps make up for the lack of color that was in the design. I mean, you have some color paint apps like on his along his belt all the way around, and you also have these silver accents on his boots as well too. But like I said, there's lots of sculpted detail, and I think that helps keep it from the overall design from looking boring and just kind of generic. I do like that they went back with the scale mail on the arms, like other Thor designs that they had in previous Avengers movies, and from the comics as well. So yeah, I got no big complaints. I like the fact that they used a cloth cape instead of that three-piece plastic cape. I really wish, I mean, I know the cloth capes aren't for everybody, but I think it works. I think the material works for this figure. The red is that's a pretty nice vibrant red on camera. It's darker in person. I think my camera just is punching up the color. And you know, I dig it. I don't mind it. I think it works. I'll talk more on the cape later because I do have some issue with it, as you can probably already see, but I'll get to that in a bit. As far as his face, the facial sculpt, I have mixed feelings about the face. I think it looks like Hemsworth, definitely. I do love the way the hair is sculpted. I mean, there's lots of texture and detail in there. So I think that looks fine. You know, even the cuts where you could tell where, you know, Stan Lee's cameo character made the mistakes, cutting his hair in Thor Ragnarok, that's there as well. So yeah, I mean, I dig all that. He even has the scar from when Hela slashed his eye out. Let's see if you can zoom in there on that. Shine a little light on there. Yeah, you can even see the scar around his eye, which is a nice touch. I just feel like this is the one time the paint apps kind of there's a little too much paint app, because I feel like the sculpt is good enough to stand on its own, but there's so much paint on his face that it looks like he has a tan. I don't mind the beard, his 10 o'clock shadow, the paint on that. It looks a little dirty and muddy, but I don't really know how else they would have done it to have the contrast between his skin and his blonde hair. Maybe it's a little dark. Maybe they could have gone a little lighter on it. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely stands out even more because they didn't add any paint apps on his neck. Like, you see how pale his neck is compared to his face. It reminds me in some movies how if you pay attention to the character's makeup or the actor's makeup, like they stopped right along the chin or the beard line when they applied the makeup and didn't do any makeup on their neck, and so their neck looks a totally different color or shade of flesh tone than the rest of their face because they have all this makeup on their face. That's what this reminds me of. I don't know how many of you guys watch movies like I do, but yeah, that's what it reminds me of. So like I said, I mean, I think it looks like Hemsworth. I think it's a pretty decent job. I just think maybe they could have worked on the paint a bit more to get it just right, especially since this is a web exclusive. With web exclusives, the figure should be damn near perfect because you're paying extra. So you're paying extra for more quality, and I feel like that's what they should. That's the goal they should have in mind with web exclusives. Otherwise, what's the point of buying a web exclusive? There's nothing exclusive about it. So anyway, moving on, I want to talk about the articulation. Per usual, head is on a double ball joint. Head into the neck is on a ball joint, and the base of that neck is on a ball joint as well. So you don't really have that much movement because his pop and collar gets in the way, unfortunately. So you can't really have him look up that far. Like, whoops, you don't want to do that. But you can see the double ball joint. But yeah, I forced it too far and popped the head off. So you can look up that far. He can look down very far because there's nothing in front to get in the way. So he has a lot of articulation in the neck. It's just impeded by the collar, like I said earlier. His shoulders are on a ball swivel, as you can see. You can see in there somewhat. But yeah, and because his biceps are sculpted the way they are, they're not super huge, so they don't get in the way. You can get a lot of rotation on there. You can when you pop out the butterfly joint, you can kind of finagle you can get the arms to you can get the arms to pretty much rotate all the way around and everything. So he raises his arms about that high. His bicep or his elbow, the elbow's on a double ball peg ball joint. The ball joint connects on the inside. Like if you pop it off, it's just a ball swivel, double ball swivel or whatever. But yeah, that also is where the bicep swivel is as well. I mean, you guys know me. If you've watched any of my reviews, I always talk about the ball swivel, and I always talk about I always talk about how I prefer the bicep swivel up here. I don't like it down here because it looks like his arm is broken, as you can see. So, but like I said, you get so much rotation up here. You almost don't even need this bicep swivel here in the elbow. So, if you want, you can rotate it, and then if you need even more for poses, when you're posing with the axe, you can use this to as much as needed. As far as there being a forearm swivel, there is none, but it's not necessary because he has a lot of articulation in play in the wrist. You get the wrist bend, and since it's on a ball peg or ball peg, you got all this rotation with the hand. So it works there in that respect. With his diaphragm joint, you do get some ab crunch You can go forward about that far, and he goes back pretty far. And then when you tie that in with his hip swivel, you know, you can really bend back pretty far, and he can bend forward about that much. He probably would be able to bend forward even more if it wasn't for this little front belt piece, but it's okay. It's not horrible. You'll be able to get some decent crouching poses out of it. With the thigh, with the hip articulation, he has a hidden thigh swivel. I know a lot of people like the hidden thigh swivel. I do too, and you get more going outward than you do going in. But going in is okay. I mean, obviously, who wants knock-knee Thor? You know, nobody wants that. So the inward isn't a big deal to me. With the knees, it's double jointed as it always is, and you get a really good bend with the knees. With the feet, the toe point goes back that far, goes forward that far. You got really good ankle rockage going in, not so much going out. But I mean, whose ankles bend that way anyway, that far? And you also have the toe point. So articulation wise, I think you're not going to have any issues getting him in any kind of pose you need. The cape doesn't get in the way of the arms or the shoulders, so of the articulation there, so that's always a nice touch. And speaking of the cape, I do take a bit of umbrage with the cape. I do like that it's two-toned, so they use two different pieces of fabric stitched together, but there's no wire. I was under the impression from the production photos, like this picture here in particular, where you see his cape is flapping in the wind because he's in an action pose. I was under the impression that there was going to be a wire in the cape, because there were other production photos that showed the cape in various it just wasn't hanging down when he was in other action poses for the advertisement photos, and yeah, there isn't one. At least there isn't one in mine. I haven't watched anybody else's review, so I don't know how their figure was. Maybe theirs came with a wire attached into it and mine just didn't. Maybe it's a QC thing. At the time of me doing this, I don't know, because as soon as I got this figure, I popped it open and just started working on the review. So I don't have anything else to go off of. I do like that they did not seal the bottom of the cape, so it's open. So if I want, which I am going to do, I already own fabric glue, so which you can buy at like Hobby Lobby or Joann Fabrics, I think maybe. You can buy it at any kind of. You can buy it from stores like yes, I got it from Hobby Lobby. You can. I'm gonna glue a wire in there, and hopefully it'll stay. So I do like the fact that they did leave it open for you to do that. But once again, this is a Tamashii Web Exclusive. It should already come with this. This should already be done. This is what I'm paying them for, what I'm paying extra money for. So that's why I have a little bit of an issue with that. And that's, once again, this is why I have mainly negative feelings towards Tamashii Web Exclusives. Action figure exclusives in general I have problems with. But that's another rant for another day. I want to move on to the accessories that he comes with. Of course, he comes with hands. He has his holding things hands for his hammer axe combo, and he has both right and left for that. I'm only showing you the left. Here is also the left hand, relaxed posed hands. Nice sculpt, of course, for the hands. And yeah, he only comes with 3 sets of hands total for this Tamashii Web Exclusive. Now here's his hammer. Hammer is really nice. Hammer axe is really nice. That's what I'm calling it because I don't remember what it was called in the movie. As I drop it. detailing is really good. I really like the detailing on this guy, especially on the axe hammer head. It's cast in one color, and I think that's all it really needs. I don't think it needed any kind of wash or shadows painted onto it or airbrushed on. I think this works because the way the light plays off of the sculpt and the base color, I think, lends to it looking like metal, and I think paint apps would have actually impeded that. Other paint apps would have impeded that. Same thing with the wood. The wooden handle has a nice sculpt to it too. Also cast in a base color. Excuse me. Yeah, so I don't have a problem with this at all. I think this looks really, really good, and I was really impressed with it. My other gripe though with this figure is the holding things hands, and even though they're sculpted nice, because I think this handle is pretty organic, they couldn't come up with a shape for the hands to where it would fit all the way across. Like, it still has, like, it looks like it grips pretty well, but once you attach it to the figure and you start posing it, it'll fall out really easily. Like, it holds on, but you can pull it off pretty easy, and it's only like when I have it like maybe down here towards the base or up here more towards the axe head, it holds a bit better. I kind of wish it would, like I said, when you have it on the figure, you can see you'll see how loose it is. I mean, you can already see I put it on and it stays, but then as soon as I move it, any little movement, it's gonna come off. So that's an issue with me too. That definitely hurts this figure for me personally. But you know, it just means you have to work with the figure a bit more when you're posing it. It's not going to be as easy as it would be with other figures like that hold guns or weapons that have like a fixed shape and it's not an organic shape. So maybe they could have tooled around with that a bit more. But anyway, overall, I dig this figure. I do think this is better than the previous Thor. I can't really say too much about the Ragnarok figure because I didn't get it. So, you know, so there's that. But I like this figure. I think it's a worthy addition to my collection, despite its shortcomings. Which, if it had been a mass release figure, they probably wouldn't have been an issue. But because this is a web exclusive, they should have higher standards for their exclusives since you're paying more money for them. But yeah, like I said, nice sculpt, good looking figure, gonna look great next to your other MCU figures, and that's pretty much gonna do it for this review. If you liked what you've seen, please like and subscribe. If you have opinions on the figure, I would love to hear them. So please comment below in the comment section. I'm on Facebook as Agent Omega Man, so hit me up there. I'll have to make sure I actually go on my Facebook page because I do neglect it because I like Facebook, but I'm not huge into Facebook. So anyway, if I start interacting with people more, I'll definitely be on there more often. So hit me up on there, so I have an excuse to be on Facebook. And you know, like and subscribe and turn on notifications, blah 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 blah. And that's gonna do it. Until the next action figure review, I am Agent O, and I'm out. Peace.